We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Mem Gimel Amud Beis in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 143b. On the previous Amud, there was a case where a person said, I'm giving my property to my wife and my sons. And Rav Yosef said what that means to say is that 50% of the property goes to his wife and 50% goes to his sons, is divided among his sons. And now the Gemara is in the middle of a question brought by Rabbi Zera from a Brisa. The Brisa says if a person says, I'm bringing 100 Isaron as carbon mincha in 2 vessels, so he should bring 60 Isaron in one vessel and 40 Isaron in the other vessel. And the Brisa now continues, V'mhevi chamishim b'kli echad v'chamishim b'kli echad. If he brings 50 Isaron in one vessel and 50 Isaron in one vessel, meaning if he does split it 50-50, so then Yotza, so then he's still Yotze, he still fulfills that obligation. And so the Gemara now asks, Imhevi in, b'di'evid, meaning after the fact, if he brought it in that fashion, then yes, it's okay. But l'chatchila lo, but he shouldn't do that l'chatchila. L'chatchila, he should not be dividing it 50-50, and that's a question on Rav Yosef, who says, again, the wife gets 50%. V'sal kadaitach, if it enters your mind, kol ki agavna palgo palgahu, that in all these types of situations, it's 50-50. Afilu l'chatchila nami, so even l'chatchila, that's how he should bring this carbon mincha. And the Gemara says, Hachi Hashta, how are you comparing the two cases? Hasam over there, Anon Sahadi, the Haigavra Meikara, Lakarbon Gadol Kamachavin. We are witnesses. We know that this person originally wanted to bring a large carbon. V'hayda Kamar Vishnei Kalim, and the reason why he said he's bringing it in 2 vessels, Diyada Delo Efsher Lesuya Bikli Echad, Kemada Efsher Lesuya Maisinan, because he knows it's not possible to bring it all in one vessel. So as much as is possible, he's going to bring it. That's why initially a person should really do 60-40, because you're trying to bring a large carbon. You can't bring it all in one vessel, so you bring as much as you can in one vessel, and the rest you bring in the other vessel. That has nothing to do with our situation, where a person is giving his property to his wife and his sons. And the Gemara says, V'hilchasa kivasi de Rav Yosef, the halach is like Rav Yosef, besada inyanu mechsa, by the cases of sada inyanu mechsa, and mechsa where it's 50%, half, that refers to our case. And the Rashbam explains, Uparik, the Gemara answers, Hasam anon sahadi de lekarbon gadol kamachavin, there we know that he wanted to bring a large carbon, lasuya b'kli echad, he wanted to bring it in one vessel. V'hayda kamar shnei kelim v'lo kamar mei isaron lahavi b'kli echad, the reason why he said 2 vessels, he didn't say 100 isaron in one vessel, mishum diyada de lo efshar lasuya b'kli echad yoser mishishim isaron, because he knows it's impossible to bring in one vessel more than 60 isaron. And the Gemara then said, v'hilchasa kivase de Rav Yosef b'sada, the halach is like Rav Yosef by the case of sada, mishum de v'kulei Gemara, Rabba Rav Yosef hilchasa krabba. The reason why we're saying this now is because in the entire Gemara, when you have a machlokas Rabba and Rav Yosef, the halach is like Rabba, itzruch l'meimer de hilchasa Rav Yosef b'hanitzalos. That's why we're saying that in these 3 cases, the halach is like Rav Yosef. And the Rashbam continues, the first case is besada by the case of the field, beperak hashutvin, this is earlier in perak hashutvin. Gabehu gavra dezavan ara mitzvah devei neshah. There's a case over there where a person bought some land along the boundary of his father. Utlas mili kamer Rav Yosef hasam. There are 3 things that Rav Yosef says over there. And the case of inyan, which is beperak yeshnochel and kinyan amos choser, Rav Yosef amar kozman shasukim bo'osa inyan. As long as they're still dealing with the same matter, then we say that you can still retract with regards to the kinyan. Umechs, in the last case, is the case of 50-50. Hainuach, that's our case right now. To Yom Rav Yosef kanoi palga, where Rav Yosef says that the person acquires 50%. And the Gemara continues, there was a person who sent pieces of silk to his household, and again, this is a situation where it's not clear exactly what is being given to whom. Amar Rabbi Yami says, those pieces of silk that are fit for sons, that goes to his sons. Those pieces that are fit for his daughters go to the daughters. And the Gemara says, now this is only true if he doesn't have daughter-in-laws. But if he has daughter-in-laws, it's assumed he's giving it to his daughter-in-laws. However, v'binsei lo nesivan, but if his daughters are not married, so then lo shavak binsei mashadr lekalsei, then he's not going to abandon his daughters and send it to his daughter-in-laws. Then we do in fact assume that it is going to his daughters. And the Gemara continues, there was a person who said that my property is going to my sons. He said it in plural, but he only had one son. Havale baro ubarta, he had one son and one daughter. And so the Gemara says, Mikaru inshi livra benai, does a person call his son his sons? And he means to say that he's giving the gift to his son. And some take out the next line, but we'll read it. Vilisluke levarta meisar kasi, and then he's coming to remove his daughter from the 1/10 that would generally be given for her dowry. Odilmar, maybe lo karu inshi livra benai, maybe a person doesn't call his single son sons. Ulamochcha levarta b'matana kasi, and he's actually coming to include the daughter in this gift. That's the question of the Gemara. And the Gemara says, Amar Abaya says, Tashma, come and hear the following proof. The pasuk says, Uvnei Dan Chushim. It says the sons of Dan were Chushim. It uses the plural even though it's one son. We see that one does use the plural for one son. But the Gemara says, Amar Le Rava said back to him, Dilma Kidatan de Chizkiya. Maybe the way to understand that pasuk is as was taught in the yeshiva of Chizkiya, Shayu Merubin Kechushim Shalkane. What it means is that he had many children like groups of reeds, and Chushim was not the name of his one son, but it indicates that Dan had many sons, and so that pasuk is not a proof. And so the Gemara says, Elamar Rava, rather Rava says we can bring the following proof of V'nei Falu Eliyav. It says the sons of Falu or Eliyav. Again, it uses the plural for a single son. Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yosef says Uvnei Esan Azariah. We can bring a proof from the pasuk of Uvnei Esan Azariah, again using the plural for a single son. And the Gemara continues, there was a person who said, I'm giving my property to my sons. He had a son and a grandson. And so it's a similar kind of question. Does a person call a grandson a son? Oh, lo, or maybe not. Rav Chaviva says, a person does call a grandson a son. Mar Baravashi Amar lo karu inshi levar bara. Mar Baravashi says a person does not call a grandson a son. And the Gemara says, Tanya kivase de Mar Baravashi. We have a brisa that supports Mar Baravashi, that a grandson is not referred to as a son, because it says Hamudar Hana mibanim. It says that if a person is Mudar Hana, it says he's not going to get benefit from his sons. Mutar bivnei banim. He's mutar still by the grandsons, because grandsons are not included in sons. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Hiniach banim gedolim ukatanim. If a person leaves his estate to his adult sons and his minor sons, hishbichu gedolim es hanachasim. If the adults, if they enhance the property, they enhance its value. Hishbichu lemsa. So those profits, they're split in the middle, meaning they're split among all of the sons. And the Mishnah continues, Imamru, if the adult sons, if they say, see what our father left us, Harayanu osen va'ochlim, we're going to work with it, and we're going to profit off of it, hishbichu la'atzman. So if they say that, then they get the profits. And the Mishnah says, V'chein ho'ishan, the same thing is true by a wife, she'ishbichas anachasim, if she enhances the property, hishbichu lemsa. So again, it has to be divided. All of those profits have to be divided among everyone. Imamra, but if she says, Ru'u mashiniach li bali, see what my husband left me, Hareani osa v'ochelas, I'm going to work and I'm going to profit from it, hishbichu li'atzma, so then the profit goes to her. And the Rashbam explains, Hishbichu hagadolim es hanachasim, if the adult sons, if they enhance the property, stam ba'odon betfusas habayis, this means the property hasn't yet been divided, it's still owned by the estate when they're enhancing the property. Hishbichu lemsa, so then whatever they enhanced, all of those profits are divided. V'yitzlu ketanim kegadolim, it means the minor sons take just like the adult sons. Uchidim efarish beGemara, now this will be explained in the Gemara, sheshivchu hanachasim machmas nechasim, the property, so to speak, caused its own enhancement. It wasn't actively enhanced just by the adult sons. This is something that happened somewhat automatically. V'imamru gedolim lekatanim. Now, if the adult sons, if they said to the minors, bifnei edim, in front of witnesses, o amru lebezdin o betzibor, they said to court, or they said in public, Ru'u mashiniach lanu abba, look at what our father has left us. We're ready to divide it right now. And whatever we improve, that's from our portion. We want to take those profits. But then the court is too lazy and they don't divide up the property in a timely fashion. So then then we say that they get the profits. The Rashbam says similarly by a wife whose husband died. The Gemara will say we're talking about a wife who inherits. If she says, look at what my husband left me, I'm going to make profit from it, that profit goes to her. The Rashbam says that's only if she didn't take mizonos, if she didn't take support. The shakla mizone lo, if she would take mizonos, this would not be true. The Tanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, we say that if a widow, if she takes mizonos from the property of the orphans, then her earnings actually go to them. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Chaviva Bereid Rav Yosef Bereid Rava Mishmei de Rava. Rav Chaviva, the son of Rav Yosef, the son of Rava, said in the name of Rava, Lo shanu ela sheshibchu nechasim machmas nechasim. This mission is only true when the profit happens to the property because of the property. Aval shibchu nechasim machmas atzman. But if they're the ones that cause the profit, hishbichu liatzman, then the profits go to them. The Gemara says, Ini, is that really the case? Amar Rav Chanina, but Rav Chanina said, Afilu lo hiniach lehem aviyam elo, even if their father only left them. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Mem Dalid Amud Aleph.